E4G monthly event. We have another great guest. We are 1 minute in advance. Never happened before. We are always either sharp or a little bit late. Today, 11. Now, nice. We are starting. So, thank you very much to Federico Ronca to be here, an old friend, actually a great professional. He's a project specialist at a food system initiative at the World Economic Forum. He has a past in the startup development, and it's a pleasure to have you here to talk about several topics related to the sustainability of food systems. So please, Federico, welcome, and I leave you the floor for this interesting debate this morning.
Great, thank you very much, Giuseppe. I can probably introduce myself so people know who I am a bit more. As you said, we are old friends. We met at university studying together political science, and then of course, we had different journeys. Life brought me to work with startups, as you mentioned. I started in a corporate startup accelerator in Italy, in Rome. Team Book-Up Accelerator is basically the startup accelerator by Telecom Italia, the biggest tech company in Italy, where I learned basically how to work together with entrepreneurs and helping them to develop their business models and strategy, go-to-market strategy, and so on. And also I learned about open innovation practices, right? How to connect big companies like a telco like Telecom Italia to the smaller startups and how to work together to innovate together. Then life brought me to Sweden, where I stayed for 4 years in Stockholm, working with a company called Sweden Food Tech, on the mission to develop a food tech, agri-food tech ecosystem in Sweden, basically trying to start new incubators, accelerators, and innovation programs to support the ecosystem and create new solutions for a better food systems, right, in terms of sustainability, nutrition, and so on. And that also gave me the opportunity then to join the World Economic Forum, right? Thanks to this background, just 1 year ago, I joined the Food Systems Initiative at the World Economic Forum, as you mentioned, and now I'm working still with innovation and food system transformation, but of course with a more systemic approach, right? We're looking more at the high-level aspects of how we need to innovate and change the way we eat. And we produce, we consume, and we eat food, of course. Yeah.
Let's start. Today, we're going to have a little bit, we like to innovate as well here in E4G, of course. We are a social innovation studio, as you know, Federico. So also our format is going to innovate sometimes. It's going to be different from guest to guest. Today, we're going to have a debate. So Federico is going to launch some topics. He's going to give you his expertise about the topics. And we're going to open a window on this extremely relevant topic concerning sustainability, that is food. What do we eat, and are we still gonna be able to eat in the future? Now, let's start with some stupid questions, but this is basically the concern, that nobody talks about it. Are we gonna be in 100 years with some, pills like the astronauts, or we'll still enjoy restaurants and the development of our, especially, we are Italians, so as in many other places around the world, culinary traditions. So where do we start from, Federico?
Yes, I'd be happy to share some numbers now and give an overview of what's the current crisis, right, that we have. And probably we have a broader question, right, to the ones that you just asked, Giuseppe, that is also, we will be able to live on this planet, right? You're in Sicily right now, and I think the warm heat is super strong, right? We are all feeling this summer, and we know it's worse and worse, unfortunately. And it's estimated right now that food and agriculture as a sector are currently responsible for up to 1/3 of the global green gas emissions. On top of that, responsible of 70% of all the fresh water withdrawals, and they're also considered to be the main driver of deforestation and biodiversity loss. At the same time, tons and tons of food also go to waste, right? All the food that we produce every day, usually they don't reach our stomach, they don't reach our plate and our stomachs. And it's estimated that along the chain, we are losing about 1/3 of the food that we produce. We also used to know that nearly 800 million people, meaning about 10% of the global population, lives in hunger. and over 30% did not have access to enough and nutritious food. And unfortunately, the most recent report from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, a report that is called the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World, shares very bad news and estimates that over 150 million more people are struggling with chronic hunger since 2019, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, right? Before the COVID pandemic started, sorry. That means that this projection from FAO basically are telling us that the zero hunger target, the global goal number 2, will most probably not be met by 2030. You know, the UN and all the world is on the mission to achieve these goals, and most probably we won't meet the second goal. And it's estimated that about 630 million people, it's a big number, will still be living in chronic hunger by 2030. It means we are failing. We also know, as you said, that we will need to eat, and the global population keeps growing. We expect to reach 9.5 billion people by 2050. These are the best estimations. And that means that we will need to produce more and more food, and we need to do it while we deal with shocks due to climate change, you know, droughts, floods, and so on, and supply chain shocks that are due to ongoing conflicts. Let's think about the current war in Ukraine and all the other conflicts, right, that we have around the planet. So yeah, we have very big challenges ahead of us, and we need to try to transform the way we now produce, distribute, and consume food, definitely. And we need to do it very fast.
Well, 1/3 wasted, 30% of people with no access to enough food and nutrition. I think there is a match here.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. I mean, that means that sometimes we have enough food, but the supply chain is just dysfunctional, right? And then doesn't reach the people that need it the most. So we definitely need to, it's a global problem, right? It's of course a local problem for many countries, but it's a global problem. We have faced to all these issues with the grain, right? That we're stuck in Ukraine. Whenever something like this, like a shock like this happen, we understand how we are interconnected and how the food problem is a global problem. So definitely we need, to approach that with a system approach and try to collaborate.
So, of course, now you're reporting us some data, okay, that are extremely alerting. Of course, you're telling us that the food system is unsustainable, basically, regarding green emissions, and of course, the amount of waste that we have during the supply chain and the chain to producer to consumer. I'm sure that numbers about the GDO are extremely alerting as well, about the amount of food wasted in GDO. But why is that so? So if we need to try, to tackle the problem, have quick analysis as far as what we can do here. Where is the problem, and how do you think we can revert, this trend that is really alarming?
Yes, I mean, there are many problems, as I said, and it's very complex, right? So we need to try to understand more. And this is why last year, for the first time ever, the Secretary General of the United Nations convened the first UN Food Systems Summit, starting a series of food systems dialogues, something that I really recommend to check out, basically giving the opportunities on a global level to discuss where are the issues and where are the solutions, right? Basically, what we need to do is to transform the way, as I said, we produce, we distribute, and consume food. So it's at all levels of the chain. If we want to provide the humanity with access to nutritious and healthy food while we preserve our planet, we need to rethink and reshape the global food systems. That means we need to help farmers to convert and start adopting more sustainable practices. We need to put them in the conditions to do so. At the same time, we need billions of people, the consumers on the other side, to improve our diets and to make better decisions when they decide what to buy and how to eat and where to eat. And we need ecosystem players, the governments and all the big companies, to commit to work together and to enable all these transitions, to create, again, the right solutions and the partnership that we need. So we need, again, governments, private sector, civil society, innovators, and us, the consumers, all to work together and to do our own part. What I mean is that we need to approach it with we need to approach this complex problem with a systemic perspective and understand that many aspects are interconnected. And this is why I was mentioning the Food System Summit that took place last year. I had the experience personally to work with it through the World Economic Forum. And it was a great experience because basically what happened is there was a process. It started in Rome in Italy with a pre-summit, and then there was a summit in September in New York. There were these food system dialogues, as I said, convening millions and millions of people from all around the world to discuss problems and solutions. And at the summit in September in New York, there were about 300 statements or commitments that were made by the main players and, of course, the country members of the United Nations. So the states, the country members, they came and presented national transformation pathways. They presented documents in which they state how they are committing to change during the next years the way they produce, distribute, and consume food on a country level. At the same time, many thematic coalitions are emerging. So organizations for private, public, and social sector working together in support of the countries to apply and implement what they've written on this document, on these national transformation pathways. At the UN level, they also established a coordination hub that is based in Rome, is hosted at the FAO, and will basically support this matchmaking of the coalitions and the countries, and will basically support the implementation of these goals. So we basically know most of the things we need to do. Now it's a matter of applying them. We know the science and we know what is possible to do. We need to work on the solution, and we need to work together to make it happen.
So there is something we can do. That's good. We are optimistic about that. Who's going to be the engine, to create these ecosystems, to create these virtuous ecosystems? Because, we are aware that working with a lot of stakeholders, merging the private sector with the public sector, especially on a transnational level, it's a challenge that is extremely complicated to face. So who do you think is the institution, pivotal organization that can take the role in leading this change?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because as I was mentioning, transforming food systems brings very complex challenges. And I think there is no individuals or organization that can tackle these challenges on their own, because they require a huge system transformation that is based on concerted actions from diverse cross-sector actors. So I don't think there is a player. There are many players that are currently working on innovative solutions to evolve technology, to evolve production, to evolve the value chains, to even influence the consumer habits. I can see this in chat is coming through already, right? And it's happening both on a local and global level, but that's not enough. If these solutions and players don't connect and interact with the systemic perspective, the change is not going to happen. So I don't think there is a top-down or bottom-up approach, a unique approach. We need to basically work together. No single individual organization has the sufficient knowledge, the resources, or the authority to change the system. The answers is about many different actors starting to collaborate, exchange knowledge, and approach problems with a systemic approach. This is what it's called system leadership in a way, right? We need to develop new forms of leadership, so a set of skills for the leaders guiding our big companies, our governments, but again, ourselves as consumers, to basically approach everything in a system perspective. At the World Economic Forum, together with other partners, Rockefeller Foundation, UNDP, Harvard University, we started something called the Transformation Leaders Network, TLN. It's basically a community that brings together practitioners in the food system from all around the world. We bring them together to exchange knowledge and exchange challenges about what the food system needs to change as soon as possible. And we try to create this set of skills that they need to tackle this problem, and we try to bring them together to collaborate. So again, this is just one of the initiatives. Of course, there are many, and all the process of the Food System Summit at the UN level that I just mentioned definitely help to do that. So I hope this answers your questions, but yeah, what I mean
Yeah,
is,
yeah. I know. I think. I mean, I know what you're saying. Now, I think that we're gonna move away a little bit from our outline because I'm gonna take the ball from Elisa. That is, of course, is typing. This comment that consumers need to make better and healthier decisions. Totally yes, but why? I mean, first of all, of course, there is the economic perspective that not everybody can actually afford certain kind of food, and still, it's not only about access to food, but access to good food. I think that the numbers even get lower since usually a healthier and organic food have prices that are not affordable for many people, also in the so-called Western developed countries from a, of course, income GDP perspective. Um, so, of course, this is one topic, but why should we produce unhealthy food? So, do you think it? I mean, sometimes, something that maybe a kid, if we talk with children, this is the kind of questions that the children would ask. But if something is dangerous, is not healthy, why are we producing it? I know maybe of course it's a question without an answer, but I'd like to throw this on the table.
yeah, it's a very good questions, and I think, I mean, most of the products that we see on the shelves in the grocery stores right now are also part of a tradition that comes from business perspectives, right? From business opportunities, right? We have been producing and eating and consuming as consumers. It's our fault as well because we keep buying these products, things that are not healthy, as you said, but that are making us happy because I don't know, junk food sometimes help you to make happy, makes to helps to make your life easier. When you want to have a fast solution after a very long day of work and you want to eat something, easy to prep, or you want to have these cookies that, yeah, are sometimes poison, as you said. So why do we do it? Because again, it's the approach. I think it's a matter of knowledge that we need to have. Companies, big companies, the private sector are realizing that. All the big companies that we usually identify to, the evil companies doing junk food, etc. They're trying to change. They're trying to switch. I mean, working with them, I can see this. I think there is an effort. Of course, you can criticize. I mean, it can be way more that can be done, but I think we're moving there. But again, we also need the consumers on the other side. We need to make better decisions. We need to push the companies to change. And at the same time, we need to push the governments because we have the right to vote, right? We have the power to choose the people that are taking decisions. And we need to start doing that. We need to start thinking about this and food system transformation and climate change while we're going to vote. Because we need to send a message, and we need governments that will start helping to change this, right? Helping to avoid that poison is on the shelves and good food is on the shelf. We need to have better lifestyles. We need to have probably better working time that allow us also to have time to enjoy food, enjoy families, and so on. Or even if we have to buy like, industrial sort of food, that needs to be better, made with better ingredients, and yeah, it needs to be convenient, but definitely good food.
So we need innovation in order to do so. I guess we always talk about innovation in different kind of fields of environments. Um, where does innovation lay here, and how do you feel innovation need to be interpreted, let's say, in this sector?
Yes, definitely. I mean, as I shared, I come from an innovation background, and I still work with innovation in the World Economic Forum, and I definitely think innovation is fundamental. I can share some of the experience I had, again, within the Food System Summit process, because the World Economic Forum has been co-leading the innovation lever of change. Basically, the Food System Summit identified five main areas, action tracks, so five main topics to act, and four cross-cutting levers, being finance, human rights, gender equality, and innovation. So innovation should be one of the main levers that we need to use to change food systems. And all this process, all this work we've done last year, help us to bring innovation up on the agenda as a fundamental enabler for change. We managed to convene about 80 organizations from public, private, social sector, academia, innovators, and so on. And we have identified several areas of innovation. All this effort is now on a paper that we released together with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations called Transforming Food Systems, Pathways for Country-Led Innovation. I will be happy to share this with you and the community. And basically this paper and all the work of the Innovation Lab focus on an action-oriented roadmap for countries to innovate with an holistic approach. What I mean is innovation usually is associated to technology and digital solution. It is, but if we really want to use innovation to transform food systems, we need to have a wider and more holistic approach, meaning that we need to also be inclusive of local and traditional knowledge. You know, many communities on a local level know a lot, right? They have this specific expertise or knowledge of things or how to grow crops that sometimes you are not having in other places, and we can share and we can use and we can leverage. We should also focus on policy, institutional, and social innovation. Again, not only technology or digital, but a broader approach, holistic approach to innovation. And also something that I think is very important is that many solutions already exist. Many innovations are already there because again, the startup world is super interesting. It's growing a lot. Universities are producing a lot of innovation. But what is important is to enable the large scale adoption of this innovation, right? So sometimes we need to focus more on the scalability than on the idea itself, because innovation are usually very expensive. Usually they require knowledge. Let's think about a small older farmer in a developing country that would like to, use these smart agriculture, precision agriculture technologies. They need to be human-centric in the way we apply and use them to help them adopt this technology. And we also need to provide them with the resources to basically use this innovation. So definitely, innovation has a fundamental role, but we need to approach it with a broad perspective, and we need to make it easy to scale. We need to support the scalability of innovation.
Yesterday I had a meeting with some mayors here in Sicily, in one area here, to discuss about opportunities of innovation regarding the creation of green communities. And I brought on the table the possibility, since one of the topic addressed by the the tender was to work on sustainable agriculture and on waste management. The idea of creating circular models to use the waste from the agricultural activities in order to produce energy, and at the same time with other kind of organic waste extract nutraceutics from those and create these kind of ecosystems here in a rural area. Guess the answer.
You tell me.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything. But yeah, what you say is that we need that kind of education as well. It's difficult. And I think that, unfortunately, here I need to diverge a little bit from your idea that it's, I think it's more optimistic considering the place where you are, is that we need a little bit of top-down approach on that side. I think that, unfortunately, some kind of innovation need to be imposed, let's say, on territories, because territories, if they don't have the know-how, will never be able to develop it. And we cannot expect from the civil society always to fight and challenge and to develop things, since now the public-private interaction is fundamental in many cases. Of course, we can have big corporations to innovate, yes, but that's not going to happen into rural places, into development places. So here, I would really fight from the idea that some kind of intervention need to be at least oriented in a more specific way from those organizations or governments that actually have the know-how to have a spillover effect, but a guided spillover effect, not just a vision spillover effect.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. And what I mean is, I'm not like naive thinking, it's all about consumers, etc. What I'm trying to say is everything needs to come together. We need to look at it as a system, because it's not like just, again, the production side, it's not just the distribution, everything comes together. But definitely we need top-down approaches. This is part of the picture that I'm trying to describe. And I want to share something that definitely goes in the direction of what you're saying. It's an initiative that was initially funded by the Dutch government and led by the World Economic Forum. It was launched last year in 2021 in Davos. It was the online version of Davos back then. And it's called the Food Innovation Hub Initiatives. It's basically about creating local ecosystems through multi-stakeholder partnerships. So definitely involving the government, the big companies, the big players, organizations of farmers, and so on, bringing them all together to develop ecosystem at a country level that can definitely define, the policies and the guidelines to bring innovation at scale. As I was saying again, I think the ecosystem in terms of incubators, accelerators, at the country level, almost everywhere it's exploding right now. It's growing and growing and growing. What we need is the next step, right? Bringing these innovations to scale, or innovation that exists in other places and we need to bring in territories, as you say, in local countries that don't have that and they need more support. So the Food Innovation Hubs is definitely about that. There is already one in India that was established in Colombia, work in progress in Vietnam, in Europe, and other countries. And it's about what you're saying. Again, it's not top-down, meaning that it's not only the government making decisions and others applying. It needs to come together, because if you want to do innovation, you need to be inclusive. As I was saying, you need to make farmers, you need to put them in the conditions to adopt and to apply this innovation, to agree and to understand that if they're going to apply some sustainable practices, it's not like only about saving the planet, it's also about saving their business, right? So definitely you need to have these sort of multi-stakeholders discussions, and the Food Innovation Hubs are trying to do that. So I agree with what you're saying, and I think I explained me better now, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Of course, then the society needs to be included always. Of course, it's just about the idea of transferring the knowledge. It's the knowledge transfer. What I meant by top down is the process to transfer the knowledge about technology and other kind of things from different levels, or different countries or different environments. So I think that, as you said, we have the technologies, we have the opportunities. We need to create the match, and it's difficult to do this automatically. I think it needs to be guided, absolutely. So we are basically at the end of our chat. Time was flying. Basically, it's already 30 minutes. We have two more, so that I'm gonna say a quick thing. Of course, Federico, please, the couple of projects that you mentioned and the report that you mentioned, if you then, after the call, you can plug it in the comments, it'd be great. So anybody that is viewing now and all the people that are going to watch the video during the days will find the relative attachments, so they can explore a little bit more of what we're saying. Of course, if you have questions, also, if you are not watching live, please text us, contact us, comment directly either on Facebook or on LinkedIn, so that either us or Federico can answer to your questions. You know that we are an open community, it's public, it's free. Our idea is to disseminate and also to foster knowledge transfer, sharing best practices with our audience and with our community. Regarding what you can find also in the comments, we remind you that we have this partnership with Freedom, considering sustainability as a driver that is applied in several sectors. You can redeem a tree to plant in our forest that we have, thanks to indeed this organization. So that's great. I was about to close, but we have a couple of comments. So I'm going to read them. I mean, I don't know, Federico, do we have like 2 spare minutes to go through the comments, or are you in a rush?
Sure. No, it's
That's
okay.
great. So Amira, long time no hearing from you. It's great to see you back here in the community. producing unhealthy food serves the economy and make our life easier when we know that it's dangerous. The way of thinking of humans should change urgently because people are becoming huge consumers of unnecessary objects. Food materials, it's a common responsibility to conserve the food system, especially, and the ecosystem generally. Then we have some thanks. And yeah, I'd like to close with your final comment on what Amira is saying, and then let's move to the next steps.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can just agree with Amira, and this is what I was saying. We definitely need a huge switch, right, in our mindset. And again, it cannot only come top down. We all need to do it. We need the governments, we need the big companies to do it, but we need to push in this direction, and we need to do it as fast as possible. Because again, it's about food systems, it's about our planet and ecosystem. There is a documentary from David Attenborough that it's on Netflix, and it got very popular, but it impressed me because when I watch it, I don't know, I had this aha moment when you say, sometimes it's about, we are destroying the ecosystem. When you talk about the biodiversity, it's like we are, I don't know, destroying some very special animals that we won't see on the planet anymore. That's not it. What we are doing is destroying our habitat. In the way we also produce, eat food, we are destroying our habitat, and we are making for us impossible to keep living here. So we need to act fast, and we know that food, it's an important aspect of all this issue.
And this answers basically also Lou's question on here on the channel, asking how important it is to recycle as well from a consumer perspective, clearly. And also a question from Andrea asking, what if traceability was mandatory so that transparency to consumer would be ensured?
Yeah, mandatory is of course a bit provocative, but yeah, why not? I think it's increasing. And again, it will be mandatory in the way that consumers will ask about that. If we start buying products that we know where they come from, and we ask demanding for that, the producers and the retailers, they can do anything else that adapt to that. So yeah, definitely. Again, I don't think it's probably like a matter of having a law. It will probably be, we will see. But definitely making the value chain more transparent, it's important, but we need, as consumers, to start demanding for that.
So, sorry, a little bit of raw voice. That was great. I mean, and to conclude, since we are talking about organizations, governments, indeed, transnational organizations, but in the end, we're ending up talking about the consumers. And that's probably where what you mentioned before, so also the social innovation should jump in and tackle the educational part of it. We need to be informed, we need to have educated consumers. And that's where I think also the third sector, other than or in support of governments, should jump in and really make an effort on that. And that's also where Ethics for Growth is active. We work with organizations, with governments, with the third sector, with the private sector, also to shape and develop educational programs. And of course, food sustainability is one of the topics. We have the luck, to interact with professionals like you, to have a window on the world constantly. And now, of course, we are talking with Federico. And again, thank you very much for being here. If you have ideas, comments, you want to keep in touch with us, or also with Federico or our other guests in the future, please, you will find our contacts here on the Facebook page or the LinkedIn page. We are more than happy to share ideas and have a chat. Thank you very much, and see you in the following months. Not August, because in Italy it's monthly holiday. Basically, August it's a place where nobody really has the life capability to work, considering the heat. But we will see each other back in September with another E4G Live. Thank you, Federico, again, and have a wonderful day.
Great. Thank you very much for inviting me. Have a nice day.